Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm your host, Lynelle Ellis, the president of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association, and I'm very glad that you've tuned in today. On today's show, I'm going to be talking with Eudene Stevens, who is a midwife here in the Walla Walla Valley. She's going to have some interesting things to share with us. And I also have some station news items that you will want to stay tuned to learn about. A lot of them having to do with programs coming to Blue Mountain Television. And we are going to begin now with our devotional thought. For the next 4 weeks, as we are heading toward Easter, toward the season when we celebrate the resurrection of Christ, we're going to be doing some reading from passages in the book Messiah. This is the same book that I was talking about during the Christmas season and that we were reading from as we were leading up to the Christmas season. Then we, of course, were looking at Jesus' birth and his advent, his coming to the world. This time we are going to be thinking about, looking at, contemplating Christ's death and resurrection. And we know that our faith is centered around the redemption that is available because of Jesus' beautiful sacrifice for us. So today we're going to read about and think about what it was like when Jesus came to earth. What kind of a world did he find when he arrived? And how does the heart that he had for humanity then still apply to us today? This reading is called Lifting the Weight. When Jesus looked out at the hard-working people of Galilee, he longed to take away their pain and worry. He said, "Come to me, all of you who are tired and have heavy loads, and I will give you rest." He saw that they were worn out by the cares of life. They were trying to fill their hopeless hearts with the pleasures and promises of everyday life. He offered them something more. Jesus said, "Accept my teachings and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in spirit, and you will find rest for your lives." What was missing from their hearts and lives was God, an understanding of his love and his plan for them. Jesus spoke these words for all human beings. Whether they admit it or not, all humans are carrying heavy burdens that only Jesus can take from them. The heaviest burden is the weight, the guilt of sin. This weight alone would crush us if we were left to carry it. But Jesus, the sinless one, came to carry the guilt of our sins and the burden of our worries and sorrows. Whatever human weakness we find in ourselves, we can turn to Jesus for help. Whatever trial or problem we face, we can turn to him, and he will give us the strength to face it, the wisdom to accept it, and the endurance to get through it. Next week, we will continue thinking about Jesus, how he came to earth, and his deep care for humanity when we look at the story of his triumphal entry into Jerusalem just before his death and resurrection. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me now is Eudene Stevens, and Eudene is a midwife here in the Walla Walla Valley. So good to have you on the program today.
Thank you.
Tell me what a typical week looks like for a midwife.
A typical week is Mondays. I usually do paperwork at home. Occasionally I may have a client that I have to see, or if there's any complications that come up, I will address those emergencies at that point. Tuesday, I usually have clients that I may see anywhere from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. There may be an hour or so off for lunch. And in that time between seeing clients for 45 minutes to an hour at a time per visit, I may be getting a text that says, "Have you gotten my labs? Have you gotten my ultrasound referral sent in?" And all these other things that I'm taking care of between clients. Wednesday we do home visits and drop off tubs, and we're seeing clients, and if they've already had their baby, we try to do them on Wednesday so it doesn't interfere with clinic day. And Thursday is very similar to Tuesday, which can be
A clinic
long.
day again.
A clinic day that I may
But
see
these
anywhere.
are home visits. Yeah. Are they?
No,
No?
these are office visits.
They are office
I
visits.
have an
okay.
office here in Walla Walla.
Okay, so Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're actually seeing your clients at your office.
At my office.
Okay.
And I may see anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 in a day. And then Friday is more personal home stuff that I take care of. I usually don't do anything on Sabbath except fellowship and feed myself spiritually.
Yes.
But then if you throw a birth in there, that can totally throw the whole day.
Yeah, that was my next question, because just what you just laid out here does not account for the primary reason that you're in the business. Births just come.
Here, a couple weeks ago, I get a call early in the morning that says, I'm in labor, early labor. It's on a Tuesday. I have 6 clients I'm supposed to see. All of a sudden it's shuffling. Let's try to reschedule them. Water breaks a couple hours later, and we're with the client, and I get home at, say, about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. The next day I had several clients that I needed to do home visits for in Tri-Cities. But before I could do that, I had a client that was miscarrying, and so I had to deal with that before I could leave, and she ended up having to be hospitalized. And so having to keep all those balls rolling in an effective way to make sure that the health and wellness of my clients were well taken care of.
Yes, which I'm sure is the top priority. Boy, it sounds like your schedule can just change so quickly that you have to be pretty flexible.
Yes, and it's a good thing that I grew up in a house where spontaneity for activities was pretty high. And so as a child, I learned to flow with that very well.
Yes.
It was nothing for my dad to come home on a Wednesday evening and say, when we lived in Michigan, who wants to go to Connecticut for Thanksgiving for the weekend? And of course, we'd all raise our hand, not having a clue it was a 12 to 15 hour drive. He says, well, let's be ready and we'll leave in 2 hours.
Wow.
So that was kind of how travel happened in my family, and it wasn't just short trips. So I feel that prepared me for a 24/7 kind of spontaneous job.
Indeed, for sure. So how did you get into midwifery?
I got into it, or I first became interested in it when I was 14, and I babysat for a family that he worked for my dad, and they had 3 children, 6, 3, and 6 months, and I found out that the mom breastfed the baby and that the baby had been born at home. And to my 14-year-old brain, it was like, wow, I'm going to be a lazy mom and I'm going to breastfeed because I am not getting up at 3 in the morning to fix a bottle. And I started asking her questions about what it was like to have a midwife and what it was like to have a baby at home. And for the rest of my teen years, for pleasure, I read relationship books and I read books on women's health. And I knew by the time I was 18 to 21, I wanted to be a midwife, but at that point I thought I only could be a nurse midwife. There weren't any other options. But I got married and I had children, and I still wanted to be a midwife, but the doors just didn't open. And there were 4 different times I threw fleeces out for God, is this the time? And the fleece finally came back in 2011 that it was time for me to pursue my midwifery dream. And so I became licensed in the end of 2014 in Oregon and in Washington in 2015. Washington requires a lot more births than Oregon.
So it took a little longer to get
Yep.
that license.
Oregon requires 55 births before you get licensed, and Washington requires 100 births that you've attended.
Almost twice as much.
So
Yes. And you had another career as well that's been useful to you in your career now.
I was a massage therapist. I was self-taught for 15 years and then went to school and got a registration in Texas to get paid to do what I like to do.
Yes.
So from the time I was self-taught until I closed my private practice in Montana in 2013, I had been doing it for 29 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all those years, in 12 years, I had done a lot of injury rehab with the massage therapy. So it has really helped me when I work with women, especially in labor. I can do different things. I understand trigger point therapy. I understand how to move an injured body so that it doesn't become more injured. So now I can move moms and babies without injuring either one and improving the outcomes.
Yes. It's really great, and I'm sure that your clients appreciate that background.
Oh, yes.
That not every midwife can bring to it.
And sometimes when they tell me what their ailments are, I can also refer them to another care provider or professional here in the Valley that may meet that need better than I can meet the need.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some chiropractors that they do really well with one particular thing, and so if that is the client's issue, then I refer them to that one. If it's something else, then I'll refer them to a different practitioner.
Yes. So what percentage of women in the Walla Walla Valley would you say are using the services of a midwife? You have any idea?
I have no idea how many births are happening at the hospital. When I moved to Walla Walla in October of 2019, I had 5 clients on my schedule. In 2020, I assisted 20 women to deliver babies at term, and I had 10 that I helped take care of because I had miscarriages.
Mm-hmm.
I already have had 7 clients deliver in 2021, and I have 19 clients on my books, and I took pretty much the month of August off because midwives need vacations with husbands too.
Yes. Well, you would have to sort of carefully plan that in, wouldn't you?
You got to plan 10 months in advance, and for me to take 10 days off, I actually have to take 6 weeks off to get 10 days off call.
Wow. Yes, things I hadn't thought about. So, we kind of got an idea about how you decided on this, how you wanted to get into this career. It's obviously been a passion for you for a really long time. Do you have others that you work with who are also feeling this calling? Do you get to mentor anyone?
Oh yes, I have 2 students and an assistant here locally. The assistant just finished up her national boards and graduated, so she's got a few more births before she can become licensed in Washington. So that's exciting to feel like I've got someone almost done that can kind of walk along beside me.
Yes. That would also be really helpful for taking a vacation once in a while.
Taking a weekend off now and then.
Yes.
And then I have 2 students that are in their 2nd year of midwifery training.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4-year training program that they're in out of Boise.
Okay.
And so I have 2.
They do clinical hours with you then?
They do clinical hours with me, and they do their academics online.
Okay. It's great that you can provide that opportunity for them. Tell us some of the advantages from your perspective to giving birth at home.
One of the advantages, especially with COVID, is that you can be in a relaxed setting. You can have your germs present, and you don't need to worry about whose germs are coming in and out of your room or down the hall. And so and that's not just COVID, but there's other bacteria infections that a patient can get at the hospital, whereas at home they won't be exposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
They're in their bed. They can move around, they can eat. I have birth tubs that my clients use, and about 90% of them use the birth tub, but only about 55-60% of them actually deliver in the water. For one reason other than another, they will deliver on land.
Mm-hmm. So those are some advantages. Are there concerns? I mean, there are concerns, obviously. Probably the biggest reason why people would say, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do that is, what if I get into trouble in some way medically, and I'm not at the hospital?
There's 3 things that usually become an issue in that labor time. That mom could bleed, and We do a lot with nutrition throughout pregnancy. We're checking their lab values to make sure that they're within a healthy range. And if they're not, then we try to support them. And if we can't support the body enough, then they would risk out of a home birth and end up having to be in the hospital.
So those are things you're monitoring?
Those are things we're monitoring. Our visits are 45 to 50 minutes, so we're knowing these people pretty intimately by the time they deliver, and they're trusting us. And we've gotten to know their body language, and by reading their body language and their vitals and different things, we can monitor when they might go from green flags to maybe some yellow flags, and then what can we do to bring it back to green? Or are the green, yellow flags okay that we can still do it at home? Or if we move into red flags or warnings, then we transport, but we transport before it becomes emergent.
Mm-hmm. So it's a big responsibility for you, and an intuition about where this woman really is at and what's going on.
And we have the same medications that the hospital has, but we also have the advantage of homeopathic remedies,
yes,
or tinctures, or other herbal support that we can bring into the equation to deal with.
So more
hemorrhage.
options, really.
Another one would be maybe fetal distress. But because we don't push labor with inductions, we have very few fetal distresses. Also, getting a baby, if a baby comes out and gets stuck as they're coming out, because of my massage background in injury rehab, I know how to move babies, that we can get babies out without injury to them. And those are some of the biggest things that you would monitor. Even sometimes blood pressure, but we can usually correct that with electrolyte balancing.
Very good. Well, we're almost out of time, but I want you to have the opportunity to share with our viewers how they might get in contact with you if they're interested. I guess really kind of in two directions. You know, maybe they're going to be having a baby or planning to, and they might be interested in having the services of a midwife, or they might be interested in this as a career and want some advice from you that direction. So how could people get connected?
Well, I'm on Facebook with Gentle Touch Midwifery Birth Services.
Okay.
I'm also on the Better Business Bureau page under Gentle Touch Midwifery out of Walla Walla. So if you Google Eudene Stevens or Gentle Touch Midwifery out for Walla Walla, my name would pop up and you would see some resources by which you could contact me by.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Eudene. I really appreciate you taking the time to share these interesting things with us.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here today.
And thank you for watching. Please stay tuned because I'll be right back with Station News. Welcome back. It's time now for Station News. And the first thing I have to share with you is a big thank you. We want to thank you for the $8,450 that you generously contributed to our camera fund for Blue Mountain Television. And this happened during our Blue Mountain Television camera fundraiser when we were showing that video, that film about how to shoot outdoor footage and how to do really well recording in an outdoor setting. And you know, we're trying to raise $12,000 for these cameras, so we are a really good way there toward our goal with the $8,450. But it is not too late for you to continue to support that camera fund if you would like to do that and help us with the last few thousand we need to be ready to purchase them with our goal of $12,000. And again, thank you to each of you who called in during our outdoor filming workshop and supported what we are doing and what we'd like to do with some new cameras that we can use in remote settings. Also, I've got to highlight for you a program that is continuing. We've been talking quite a while about the Days of Noah, and we have part 2 coming this Saturday evening, March 13 at 7 p.m. And part 2 is called The Judgment Hour. And here's kind of what this episode's talking about. The physical evidence left behind during the time of the flood warns of another judgment to come. But when? The second film in the Days of Noah series is seeking to answer that question. Just before the flood, Noah gave a judgment hour message to the world, and just like that, a prophecy in the book of Daniel tells us when the judgment hour message and the end of time would begin. So really looking forward to that episode. I know you are as well. Even if you didn't catch the first one last Saturday night, be sure to tune in for this one and invite some friends, neighbors, relatives to watch it with you as well. Do any of you like skiing? You enjoy skiing or snowboarding? I know there are just lots of people, including some in my family, who love skiing, and Bluewood is our local ski area here in the Walla Walla Valley. And you get a chance, even if you didn't get up there to do any skiing this year, to see some footage from Bluewood on a very special episode of Daily Bread on March 12 at 6:30 and 9:30. 6:30 a.m. that is, and 9:30 p.m. Lowell Mann is going to be there on the slopes of Bluewood, where he's sharing some valuable spiritual lessons from the sport of snowboarding during this special episode of Daily Bread. So they had a lot of fun actually making this episode happen to bring to you, and I know you're going to appreciate it and enjoy the fantastic outdoor footage that's a part of that special episode. So remember, March 12, 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 p.m. And here's one more thing you want to make sure and put on your calendar if you haven't done it already, and that is our partnership weekend, April 16 and 17. We've got the theme of healing hope, such a beautiful and important theme right now in our world as we are trying to recover from and still kind of going through a season of pandemic around the world. We have some special guests who are going to be here. Michael Harris and his wife Lynn, and on Friday evening she's going to present a meeting entitled From Grief to Relief. That sounds really important, like a very important message. And then on Sabbath, Michael is going to be presenting the sermon called There's Nothing More Powerful Than a Made-Up Mind. And that's an intriguing title as well. He's also going to be providing music throughout the weekend, and we will have a special musical concert with Michael Harris on Saturday evening. These meetings are all going to be held at the Village Seventh-day Adventist Church, so you can come there in person, or if you prefer, you can watch them as well on Blue Mountain Television, and that is on April 16 and 17, and it is in celebration of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association's 31st anniversary. So looking forward to that special weekend and sharing it with you either in person or on television, virtually or through streaming. So once again, thanks to you for your support of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association, for your prayers, your gifts, and the sharing about the station that you do with others in your circle of influence. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks for watching today. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.